Hello guys, this is Jerry speaking. Welcome to LJPCBM episode number 632, and today we're reacting to Purple Roads Podcast episode number 69. Yes, David, you heard me right. Episode 69 of Purple Roads Podcast. Matt Bailey of Talk for Two. Last episode I checked was Talk for One, but instead it was Talk for Two. So, my apologies for what I said earlier. Matt, if you watch this episode of LJP, where me at, I said Matt Talk for One, but for real, it was Talk for Two. And then my friend DJ Bob, aka Bob Ronco of YouTube, also known as the DJ Bob Show. Now, before I react to this, years ago, I became friends with Bob on YouTube with Alex Putnam from YouTube. And Alex and I and Bob were in the interview together about me, my personal life, and this whole jump, oh yeah, from Remix. If you watch this remix, it's for you. And yeah, I just want to get this out of the way from this thing out of the way. Now, I'm going to react to this beginning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
I'm Kerry Stinson, and my journey through life has been quite an adventure. For over 20 years, I played Barney the Dinosaur on tour, and 7 seasons of the hugely popular TV show, Barney and Friends. Now my journey is to bring together friends and guests from all over the entertainment world for inspiring and at times amusing behind-the-scenes conversation. I'm Kerry Stinson, and this is Purple Roads.
Here we go.
Welcome to Purple Roads. My name is Kerry Stinson, and this is, as always, such a pleasure that you're here. We have such a cool show this week. I met this gentleman through Purple Roads, and he's become...
Yeah, if you watch this, I was like, oh my god. I was doing this, like, LJPCBM episode of this, when all of a sudden, my friend was like, it was my friend of mine who was a pal, who told me about this, but that's just me. Continue on.
A friend, a colleague, he has, we want to talk about podcasting. He has a show that I just love. So we're going to have a lot of fun here today.
Okay.
I've got 2 podcasters, and the first one is better known as DJ Bob.
Wow.
Hey, Bob, how are you?
Wow. My buddy Bob. DJ Bob. Oh my god, it's so good to see you, buddy. And wow, you have so many Funkos in your collection. Like over here somewhere in the poster. I don't know what this movie was called, but that's just me. I'm thrilled to see you on Purple Roads. I mean, I'm almost dove out of the box. You know, if you haven't saw my post in 2019 for to see out of the box, but that's just me. And oh my god, Bob! Where have you been all the time with me? Man! Continue on.
Oh, I'm so good.
This is like a long time listener, first time caller situation.
It is. It is.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here.
Well, you know, we met January. I think it was December, January. You had me on your show.
Yeah. Do you think Matt, who you're gonna have on later, introduced after?
That's right, Matt Bailey.
Yeah.
Forget how it kind of happened.
Yeah, if you watch this, DJ Bob. Oh my god, this is gonna be amazing with Matt Bailey. Oh Jesus, this is so. Yeah, I'm sorry. Continue on.
Yeah, it's so much fun with this whole podcasting community because we're all kind of there for each other, and you know, we all have podcasts, but we all do different things, and you know, it makes it a lot of fun. For the viewers and listeners, DJ Bob has been doing his show almost 11 years now. You've been...
Wow, yeah. I as I heard before, and I haven't done reacting to DJ Bob. If he was okay with that, I'm going to react to his podcast, but that's just me. Continue on.
Doing this show almost 11 years.
Yeah. Okay.
From pop culture to some of the children's entertainers that I have on. Man, when you got into this, did you see yourself going 11 years?
No. No. What it was a summer boredom thing. Like, what am I going to do to pass the time before school starts?
Wow, okay.
When I was 15, I was just entering high school. And
well, I didn't know that. Born 94. And, my God, where have you been all the time, man? And at the time like this, Bob, if you watch this on LJPCBM episode right now, I am so impressed with you, buddy. But that's just me. Continue on.
What happened was, I had just gotten fired from another radio gig. And then I just had the idea for a name. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was a YouTube show. I didn't know it was a podcast. I just had the DJ Bob Show in my head. So, that was it.
And then boom, 11 years later.
that's when people bring that up to me, like, what? What's going on? Yeah.
Well, you know, this is one of the things, Bob, that I love and I want to celebrate is that you can really do anything. You know, in this world, in this life, you can do anything.
Yeah.
If you've got passion.
It's funny you say that. Like, when I started doing this, nobody knew what a podcast was.
Yeah, until 2004 when, same year as Dimebag Daryl Abbott was assassinated. I'm like, okay. What happened there with Damage Plan? Continue on what you're going to say, Bob.
I didn't know what I knew what a podcast was, but it was for businesses. It was for corporate. It wasn't this new form of media that we have today. So, it started out as a live show for 4 hours.
Wow, okay. I haven't reacted to these 4 hours, but I'll have to react to those some other time. But that's just me. Continue on what you're saying, Bob.
Wow.
Playing music, taking phone calls, doing the typical radio thing that people do. And then I realized I can't commit to a schedule. So, past guest of yours and my show, Noel McNeil, was like to me, you need to make this into a podcast.
Oh, and if you watch this, now, Bob, yeah, he's been neighbors to, Neil McNeil. I haven't met with Neil McNeil in forever. Because, number one, I met with the composer of Bear the Maple House, but goes by the name of Brian Woodbury. And he said, every year, he said, Merry birthday to you and all the best wishes. I'm like, thank you, Lou. Thank you, Brian. I do appreciate it. And second, I haven't met anybody like Peter Bro, L, until now. Because if you haven't seen my LGBT content recently, but, you know, I just feel like, oh my God, what is up with this thing, man? I just like to be, a great reaction video content person when it comes with this man. I want to thank this guy who made me this boy with the jump. And by the way, he's the guy who likes this video. I will get to that, Leo, some other time, but he's the guy who let me mute this volume. Well, I did mute the volume for one, and two, let me show you a channel who I really love in another video. Let me just show you this now. Now, let me just say this, okay? It goes by the name of my friend named Marshall Brown. Look at the video. I'm not going to turn up the video because of copyright reasons, but I will continue on after this, okay? He commented on one of the videos. I did like the video and said I have 9 likes for that comment. James Brown Music, very awesomeness. Then let's see what DJ Bob commented on the post. Let me see. I can't remember this. Yeah, this says $1 million art. Yeah, I agree. Love it. Yeah, I agree with this big time. A Geek says by Alec Brown. Yeah, I agree with Marshall at that point. Yeah, you don't steal content. Patrick feels good. Well, yeah, it was an original video that Marshall Brown did. See here, Patrick Star feels good. Marshall is that's what I liked about this video. But anyway, it has about 43,773 viewers so far, including my friend DJ Bob. Anyway, let's continue on this video.
Where you can upload it at your schedule whenever you want, and then it just stuck.
Wow.
Well, and that's important, and I try to tell that to people that have these ideas and dreams. Just put it out there, and then you can make adjustments, and it will organically turn into what it'll turn into. But the key is just to get out there.
The other thing that I'm conscious of, and we'll get into this in a little bit here, is the physical aspect of what it takes to produce something.
Yes.
Wow.
Because if I can't physically do something because of my CP, it's done. Like, I'm not, like, if I can say I tried it, if we can't do it, it's fine. We find another way. It's all about adaptation and making sure that you can still have the same effect and create the same content that you would. Like the stuff from 10 years ago, 11 years ago, we interviewed with like punk rock bands.
Yeah. Hold on. Anyway, let's continue on.
I love that.
It was not what we do now, partially because I was trying to fit in with where culture was at, and where podcasts were at, and where radio was at. But now it's like, if I want to talk to Barney one week and the creator How I Met Your Mother the other week, it's totally okay.
Right.
Because,
Man.
The DJ Bob Show is everything that, it sounds narcissistic, but the DJ Bob Show is about me and everything that shaped me and shapes me now as a person.
Well,
and Bob watches now, babe, Gordy. But let's continue on.
I want to talk about this. You mentioned CP that you have cerebral palsy, and it is pretty obvious if you've ever listened to your show. For me, being a guest on your show, it doesn't stop you one bit. It's an amazing, what an inspiration you are, and I know it's important for you to put that out there for people that have cerebral palsy and be able to see what you can do. But you're defining yourself as a great podcaster.
Yeah.
And that's what is so impressive about this.
I never, this. The first day we met, I told you, like, I don't want to talk about it. Like,
sure.
Didn't I tell you that flat out? Like, I was like,
sure.
I was very kind of closed up about it, but it wasn't until, I've talked about it more. I've talked a lot about disability inclusion a lot more because it's important. And, my girlfriend does a disability inclusion podcast as well.
Wow.
So once we started collaborating together on stuff, I'm like, oh, it is okay. You can talk about it without being a
Right.
pity party and all that stuff.
Well, I think the most important, talking about inclusion is there's a point, right? I understand about trying to get aware about it and to get people to, but the best way to get people to do it is just watch what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like you're just an interesting show.
But if you can kind of wedge it in
right
into what you're talking about, that's cool too.
Right.
Like one of the questions I ask these creators and these creative people is what do you think about disability inclusion in mainstream media? Where is it? And do you know how many answers I get? So many different perspectives, so many different reactions. It's cool.
Right.
Because I bet you 9 out of 10 these people don't get asked that.
Right.
So it makes them stop and think, oh, he knows his stuff and he wants to know more about me.
Right.
Wow.
He wants to know more about what I think about him.
Right.
It's just basically two people talking. I'm not putting on a host air. You don't see me like talking like this, like doing like all these, gimmicky things. That's not me.
Right.
It used to be, but because when you're younger and you're starting out, you want to be everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You want to emulate what you see.
Right.
And now it's like, now it's like, whatever. Like, I'm more personal with the show now in the last year than I ever was.
We talk about it on this show a lot. You're authentic, right? The person that I'm talking to is the person that is on your show.
Because honestly,
this is who you are.
This is not the first time we've spoken. Like, we're friends. And you've
Absolutely.
heard, this is exactly what you're getting on a phone call with me.
Right.
On a Tuesday morning. It's like, it's so cool to be able to just share.
Well,
and express things.
Let me tell everyone what a phone call like is with DJ Bob, because DJ Bob is very prepared. He's got loads of questions. He is working it. He's talking about guests. He's thinking about the next show. We were talking about before we got on the air that you're going to take your podcast and you're going to go on YouTube. So
yeah,
we're going to go from just audio to video. So
and
DJ is always working.
And there's merchandise coming.
Really? Where do I get my merchandise?
You'll have to buy it very, very soon. Very soon.
You start throwing that stuff out, I'll be wanting my DJ Bob shirt.
Yep. It's coming. I'll send you a picture when we're done.
That sounds great. It sounds great. Hey, so I've got some questions for you.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your show.
Mm-hmm.
What was, and I don't want to say favorite guest, but what was a guest that you weren't sure about that just turned out into such a fun, wonderful interview for you?
That happens more than you would think.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes I'm not, like for example,
Sure.
there's an interview, like sometimes you're excited about the interview, but you don't know what to come from it or what could come from it.
Right.
So one of my favorite interviews that I've ever done, just because of how real it got, was a recent one, and it's Carolyn Faye. She played Josh's grandmother on Blue's Clues and You.
Yeah.
Recently, and we got her on to discuss that and representation in media and a bunch of other stuff. But by the end of it, it turned into like a therapy session.
Mm-hmm.
It was so, like, I got out of that thinking, like, look what I've created. Look what I've done. Look what look at all the things that I've done. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
one of my proudest interviews, if I could share that.
Sure.
I did an interview with my friend who is transgender and he's a musician, and
Wow.
he opened up about him coming out. Like, that's not something that a lot of people delve deep into.
Mm-hmm.
And when they try to do it, it's contrived. But no, this was just two people talking, and that was it.
Wow.
He did a song for us. It was beautiful. And of course, including my friends on the show too, and having conversations with my friends, and getting them involved in the experiences, creating experiences for them. So it's everything that is personal to me. That's what this show is.
I love it. I absolutely love it. So you've been working on a bunch of very cool episodes coming up. Tell me a little bit about what you've been working on.
So, upcoming interviews, we've got a couple more ones on the children's landscape back to back. I mean, we just released an interview with the producers of the wonderful new documentary Street Gang, How We Got to Sesame Street for HBO.
Which I haven't watched yet. Continue on.
And that was pretty fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I will admit, going on a Zoom call with those guys, they know their stuff. They know how to do an interview like there's no tomorrow. I didn't have to do anything. It was great.
That's great.
But upcoming interviews, I mean, we interviewed the stars of the new show for PBS Don Quixote. That was fantastic. And then got a couple down the line. I don't know if I can announce them yet because I don't know the order schedule or the schedule order, but they're very fun.
Well, you know how to do a teaser. You just let people know you got a lot of great fun guests coming up.
Yeah, we got a lot of cool stuff.
There you go.
A lot of cool
There you
stuff.
go.
I wanted to give you an exclusive, but hey, yeah. I will say this. For the 11th birthday, which I can't believe I just said that. That's weird.
Right, but that's gonna be in July, right?
Yeah, I mean.
Okay.
And speaking of July, I have to do something for July because I'm looking forward to June, which is the launch day of the 25. Watches, Alex, for you. Continue on. And I'm not continue on. I have to do something for my birth month, and gotta do something for the premiere dates for the 25. I'm not sure when exactly it's gonna happen, but that's just me. Continue on.
For that, we're not doing anything super special, but the show is more about me and what makes me me and who am I and who shaped me. And on that note, one of my favorite episodes I ever did, which I have to re-upload, I don't know where it went, but I interviewed the author of my favorite book from middle school. It was a book called Freak the Mighty.
Wow.
And what I did was I had the teacher from 6th grade join me on that interview to talk with the author with me.
That's great.
I thought that was a nice little payback, a nice little pay it forward moment, because it impacted me so much. So I said, hey, want to do this? And she was like, yeah. So I'm very personal about these things, and I hope people can see that.
Mm-hmm.
There is no way they can't see that. I saw that with you 2 minutes into my interview with you. I know how much this means to you, and I think that's why your show is doing so well. It's why it's been out for 11 years, and why it's going to continue to go.
It's really interesting to see how people perceive my show.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's talk shop a little bit here, because
let's do it.
because I think this is important for people to know about podcasting. It's a lot of work to put a show out each week. It's a lot of work.
Yes,
So,
it is.
what are the hardest things for you?
Well, the hardest thing for me, and this kind of ties into my CP, is finding adaptable equipment that I can operate by myself.
Okay.
Because, I mean, I'm the less I have to call people in to help me, the better. Because I don't want to be a burden, not a burden, but I don't want to be like, whenever I need somebody, to switch it. No, it's like, I want to be able to create at my own time, at my own pace, whatever. So it's all about finding.
You're an independent person. I have no doubt that you want to just go.
But it's all about creating timely stuff. And with that being said, now I don't edit my own stuff.
Wow.
Because, I only type with one finger. I only have, like, my mobility's pretty good, but anything to, like, speed it up, the better. So, I have a great editor that I work with. His name is Nate Beagle. And
wow.
He's now a puppeteer on Mystery Science Theater 3000, the reboot.
Yeah, if you watch this Bob show, this is for you. Continue on.
And he edits for Defunctland and all that stuff. So I work with him.
Yeah, if you watch this Defunctland, this is for you. Continue on.
A lot, and he sticks with me, and we collaborate on the shows together. It's not like I give it to him and go, okay, here you go. It's very much it's a collaborative process. Like, if I don't like something, I go, switch that. Like, just swap it. Because then if I just gave it to him, it's not my show anymore.
Sure.
But also, on that note, he knows me well enough to know, like, if I can't comment on something, he'll be like, what would I like? What would I be into? So shout out to Nate for helping me out with that.
Well, I have that with Matt Bailey. You have to have help in these processes. It's such an involved.
There was a point in time where it was just me.
Wow.
And that's not to go really deep here, but that's not good mentally.
Right.
And because of my physical needs, if I'm overworking myself, like, it could be bad for my health. So I'm very conscious of when anybody is, but I'm very conscious of when is too much.
Right.
When do I say, okay, I do need help?
Right.
When do I say I need this and I need, like, or maybe I say, you know what, I don't want to do a show this week, I need a break. And that's okay. Like, you can go, but you have to know when to stop.
Right. Absolutely.
And I've learned that in the past year. I've burnt myself out so much sometimes that I'm literally like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And that's not me.
Right.
So, I'm going to keep going for as long as I can until I'm an old man. I've already got the wheelchair, taking me to dentures, and we'll be good.
Well, we got a long way to go before that happens. We got a long way to go.
Man.
What are you looking for when you're looking for your guests?
Well, what am I looking for? Somebody that's not boring. No, but like just somebody that either I've connected with or that most of the time I listen to other podcasts and I go, not to copy them, but to be like, this person sounds so nice. I want to talk to them.
Right.
You know, but, you know, it's also, it's just a mix of what I like and what I enjoy. And, you know, um, what brought me to where I am. Because a lot of people know me for children's entertainment, but at the same time, as I was watching Barney and Bear in the Little House and all this other stuff, I was watching MTV.
Right.
So there's this whole other side of me that. So that's why when people say that I'm a children's show, it doesn't bother me, but it kind of like, it's like, okay, but there's more.
Sure. Well, you know how that goes. I mean, everyone has opinions and things of that nature. And I think you know, it's that organic thing that it really is the DJ Bob show. And sometimes it's children entertainers, and sometimes it's punk rockers, and sometimes it's, you know, and that's what makes it interesting.
We eventually got over that punk rock thing.
I think you should bring one back soon, though. I'd like to see you interviewing a punk rocker.
Yeah.
Don't give me
ideas. Oh, it's all about ideas, right? This is where it goes. You know, we talked about this. You know, I had Caroline Ellis on my show from the Bugaloos.
Wow.
I love that one.
Yeah, right, but I didn't. You know, it was just someone that was really interesting to me, and I told Matt. Matt had no idea who she was.
Oh yeah.
We found her, and we do that, right? So you get excited about people.
I remember you telling me that, like, how did he not know? Like, and we're pretty much the same age, or he and I. So it's like, it's interesting, the pop culture lexicon.
Right.
And if I can talk about my disability and how pop culture plays into it.
Sure.
As a kid, I really couldn't play outside. I mean, I could, but that just wasn't my vibe. Because if I couldn't do it, I didn't want to do it because it wouldn't be worth it. It wouldn't be worth. So I would just flip through the channels and take songs off the radio and just find my own fun and get wrapped up in this pop culture world. So when I could talk to somebody that shaped me now or back then, or talk about my disability in a new way, then that's great.
I love that.
It's very, like, one of my favorite interviews that I did was with Josh De La Cruz.
Wow, which I reacted to on LJPCBM on the DJ Bob show. But I did react to on Purple Roads, but that's just me. Continue on.
Yeah, we had Josh on.
Josh was wonderful because I wanted to give him an interview that nobody else gave him. That was my goal. And I don't know if you heard it, but he left saying, "Thank you for such thoughtful questions," and it was just a beautiful conversation.
Wow.
And
well, that's what makes this podcasting so great, is because we can have the same guest on and it's going to be a completely different experience.
Yeah, it is, because it's different. It's different people, and
right.
I had like a different approach because my niece is 2 years old and is currently watching Josh, so I was like a celebrity in the household when I.
If you watch this, DJ Bob, this is for you on his niece part. Yeah, I'm gonna start loving your niece, but yeah, it's just she's too young. But anyway, let's continue on.
When I started interviewing him, like it was such a big deal for me, and like one of my favorite stories about that one is like he knew who I was, so it was like we knew each other, and we could just bounce back and forth. It was so great.
I love it. I love it. So, what's the plans? Where do you plan to take the DJ Bob show? What's next?
Well, surprisingly, after 11 years of this, I'm not getting paid. I don't get paid, but that's not why I want to do it, but I would hope that, I mean, I've been doing this for 11 years, you're like, come on, bring me, you know, most people ask me, why aren't you getting paid for this? You do so much good work. So
Wow.
that's one of my things. I want to start like a Patreon eventually. I don't know how that'll work.
Yeah, wow, okay. If you watch this, Lucas the Cool Guy and Bob show, I'm gonna have to support this guy as well. Continue on.
I mean, there's a lot of ins and outs, and
Well, I can help you with the Patreon. And
Same here, especially for Purple Rose, which I donated to. And I donated to Fuse Sport Gaming, as a matter of fact, because if you watch this, Dave McCauley, it's for you, but I miss you a lot, but I did react to I have seen most of your content before on the game side of things, but say at a time like this, which I saw your first video I saw with you, the first thing I saw, I was laughing my butt off, you know. I said on the body side, I see gameplay which I saw, and you were like, Bob West, I will find you. You have the worst voice in the world. I'm like, what? No, he's in the Los Angeles area. Don't tell him that, actually. But anyway, let's continue on.
That dang T-shirt out there, I'll buy one. So I'll help you get paid. I'll help you get paid, and I'll help you with Patreon.
Yeah, especially I'll donate to DJ Bob. But anyway, before I just Bob, I'm going to support this as a fifth one. But anyway, let's continue on.
That's right. That's right. You just let me know. I'm here to help you.
Cool. I mean, but above all else, I just want to cross off my bucket list some of the guests that I've always wanted to have on and tell them thank you for what they've done for me. Like, ever since I was 3 years old, I've been a big Backstreet Boys fan. Like, huge.
Wow.
Massive. I have everything. Even the international stuff. I have everything. So it's like, to be able to tell them thank you and to be able to tell them how much they meant to me. Another one is Mark Brown, the creator of Arthur on PBS.
Oh my God! If you watch this, Mark Brown, I was watching you on TV before I had to get a chance to watch the news hour on Georgia Public Broadcasting television. Formerly known as that, it is now known as Georgia Public Broadcasting. I'm like, forget about stuff when first it was Mark with Arthur, and now it was Robin and Jim. Then it was Robin and Jim on television with the news, and that was made me experience with the news when they got me inspired to make film and TV shows. Continue on.
I love Arthur so much, and considering that show is just turning 25 this year.
Wow. Okay, this is very big for Arthur. Now, according to my status right now, I don't see the future of Arthur, unfortunately, but just the thing is that they were new in the season 25 or something like that. I don't know when it's going to cancel, but that's just me. Continue on.
I hope that I get to do something in relation to that. That would be fun. I mean, the list is endless. I mean, how many times do I call you and I say, I got this guest, I got this guest, I know. So, it's just finding these conversations that people just don't get.
Right.
They don't have. They're not gonna, like, most people, besides you and I, don't go deep for children's content. It's very linear. It's very like, so. What did you do? What did you do on this show? How did you get started? But when you ask them a question that blows their mind,
Right.
they're thankful for it later.
Right.
They love it. So,
Well,
yeah.
well, I can't thank you enough for being on. I am so thankful that we met. I love seeing what you're doing, and I can't wait to see what you got coming up.
We're me and you are family now.
You.
Wow.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Well, good luck with everything you got going on. Can't wait to see the merchandise.
Yeah.
And
cool.
And I can't wait for July when you start 11 years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, even though it's LJPCBM's 5th year coming up on the 500, and we'll be hitting the 700 mark. I'm not sure when exactly, but once we hit 750, then we're bringing the new logo in the mix. Watch this remix for you. Continue on.
Thank you for that little blurb you did as well for the upcoming thing for the website.
Anything you need, you just let me know. I got you.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much.
You got it.
And you know we'll be talking soon.
You know it. I'll bug you, man. Is it up yet? Is it up yet? Is it up yet?
Absolutely, absolutely. And to everyone, know that you can check out the DJ Bob Show on all of your favorite podcast streaming stations, and look for it to be on YouTube soon.
Yeah, look for the DJ Bob Show. Links in the description below to my YouTube channel and other things random, so things like that. Continue on.
I just want to say, be thankful that it is on every streaming platform right now. And you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I do. This man has worked really hard to get his show out there. And I'm so proud of you. And check it out. It is awesome.
Welcome to Purple Roads. My name is Kerry Stinson. And, you know, I always love being here. This one is great. You know, I should have had this gentleman on a long time ago, and this is going to be so much fun. It is Matt Bailey. Matt Bailey has been working with Purple Roads. He is a podcaster, a producer. He books all kinds of things. And sooner or later, we had to have you on as a guest, and I'm so glad, Matt.
Wow.
We got you on the show. How are you?
I'm good. Well, I'm so glad to be here. This is great. It's a beautiful spring summer day here in DC.
Wow. If you watch this, News Hour fans, this is for you. Continue on.
Absolutely love it. You know, people know me working with you, hosting Life on the Purple Roads, but there's so much more. I met you through doing podcasting, so thank you for letting me come on and talk a little bit about this crazy adventure called life.
Well, that's the truth. You know, it's so interesting, and you've impressed me so much over the years because you contacted me to be on your show.
Like 100 times.
And when we finally talked, I could see your passion, your desire, how you just don't stop, how much you love what you're doing. I was so impressed. And you joined me, and you have helped put so many wonderful guests on Purple Roads.
Well, thank you. The reason I say it 100 times is I know that the fans hit you up. I know that people because now I kind of help you with the booking and also doing your booking for media and stuff. I know people hit you up all the time. Won't you do things? Can I do this? Should I not? So I feel fortunate that I got through, and it's about being persistent. And that's kind of what it's been throughout this career, is just being persistent and being consistent with being persistent. So you talk about the guests. Thank you very much. It's been an honor to book the people we've booked on Purple Roads, but if you weren't a good host, they wouldn't do it. You know, there's only so much a guest booker can do to sell a show until, you know, they just have to see the product for themselves. So it's been fun. Like I said, sound a little weird when I said it, but no, it's about being persistent. That's how we find these good guests.
Well, let's talk about that. I'm so glad you said that and used that word, because that also comes to play on your show, Talk for Two, which you have been doing for years. And at the beginning, you'd say, I'm going after this person or this person or this person. And you were getting one big name after the next. Now it doesn't even surprise me anymore. And this is what I want to talk about, because I think it's fascinating where you go. You know, you've had Larry King on, which
You're departed, Larry. Yeah.
Right, but you worked really hard to get that to happen.
The late Larry King, rest in peace to him. If you watch this, David, and everybody else, for you. Continue on.
And then Carol Baskins, which surprised people.
Man.
And then to continue all this, not only do you get them on, but then you interview them. And I think the questions you ask them makes them very comfortable. So what are your thoughts when you're looking for a good guest for your show?
You know, I'm not a pop culture person. I never have been, never will be. And I identify, not to compare myself at all to the master Larry King, who had a career, first of all, didn't become famous till he was in his 50s. He did hit it big. But, you know, you look at somebody like Larry King, he doesn't do pop culture. He'll do the pop culture interview, but it's his producers who are like, no, pay attention to this. So I will be watching Netflix or HBO Max or something, and I'll be into a show that's 3 or 4 or 5 years old, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, this is an amazing show. People can watch it now anytime they want, so it's still relevant to talk about. Let me reach out to this actor or this director or whatever and see if they'll do it. 2 examples come to mind.
You're going to get 2 samples when I come back. I'm back, folks. Sorry for the delay. I just came back from the not having to be too much information there. But anyway, let's continue on for the 2 examples there. Matt?
And both are a result of the pandemic. Larry King we'll talk about later, because Larry was just terrifying. I mean, the day we were scheduled, I was all prepped to do it. He didn't call, and then they had to push it a week. And I was just interviewing interviewers is terrifying. But in terms of how I find the guests I want to talk to, I'm an actually curious person. So I saw this movie called I See You. It's on Prime, Amazon Prime.
Wow.
And I love puzzly thrillers. I love thrillers that twist and turn, and you think you know how it's going to end. Just because I come from a background of magic and ventriloquism, those kinds of movies to me are like, you know, magic tricks on film. So I love those kinds of thrillers. And I'm edge of my seat watching it. I've watched it again since, and I never do that with a movie. So I was like, you know what? This writer is genius. I want to interview him. So it feels like a superpower that because I have this podcast, I can reach out and talk to these people. Now, that movie is about 3 years old. I think it's more recently gone on Prime, but it was an older movie when I found it. Another one, for anybody who has basic cable, TNT, The Closer. Kira Sedgwick was Brenda Lee Johnson for...
Loved it.
Yeah.
Wow. She was fantastic. But then the show continued after she left under the name Major Crimes for 6 more seasons, and I reached out to Robert Gossett, who played Chief Taylor. If you watched Closer, you know he started out as sort of the minority hire that nobody took seriously, and he was angry about that. He was a commander. He should have had Brenda's job. And I'm like, this is such a fascinating character. I want to talk about this. Because he becomes chief, and he's, by Major Crimes, he's running that entire division, his character is. So I said, I want to talk to this person. I got to talk to him. You know, it's just my curiosity. I don't, you know, you could say, oh, this is a really hot show. If I don't like it, if I don't care, like, you'll never see a Kardashian on my show. I don't care. Like, they don't offer anything that excites me. I want to have conversations with the people that excite me. And I don't care how old it is. I don't care how new it is. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to make the ask, and I'm going to keep asking until I hear yes or no. And then when I hear no, I'll just come back in a couple of months.
Which is what you do with us as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
We go through that. The other thing I want to talk about, because I find this fascinating.
Sure.
Everyone knows and probably has their own podcast, right? This is something that's become very popular. So now you have to fight all of that, and many of the guests, Purple Roads, your show as well, have been on other podcasts.
Yeah.
So the key, obviously, is the question, right? The questions and the conversation and the personality, so that it's a different experience back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're interviewing someone like, let's say, because this is one of I love that you got him, Oliver Stone, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oliver Stone. He's been on tons of things over the years. What questions are you asking him that he may not have had before?
Well, the Oliver Stone one is really interesting, because I can give you a very specific answer. Number one, I interviewed him on and then aired on 9/11. I did a same-day turnaround.
Wow. Continue on.
It's very, very rare for me. Because keep in mind, I write the prompters for the ins and outs. So when you hear the beginning and the out of the show, that's all written. That's all me reading and trying to read as naturally as I can. Then I have to edit and make the graphic. I did all of that in one day.
Mm-hmm.
I had him on to talk about his memoir, but I'm like, oh my God, it's 9/11. He did the World Trade Center movie, which is one of the most highly regarded 9/11 films in terms of just handling the material respectfully. That I said, I have to ask him about it. I threw it because I didn't tell him we were going to talk about it, because I didn't realize till I was sitting down that I'm talking to Oliver Stone on 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
But you talk about what are you specifically going to ask him. Here's why I always wanted to talk to a director of his caliber. And not him specifically, although I was freaking out that I got to talk to him specifically. I went to film school. I was a theater major for a first semester, and then I went to film school. And when I say I went to film school, I didn't go to make the film kind of school. I went to film. I call it film communications. They call it film and screen studies. You watch films, you analyze them, you talk about them, you analyze what the director meant, what the symbolism of the shot, or the color of the costume. And I'm very intentional in my choices too. Like, I'm wearing a shirt I bought in Texas the first time I ever met you, because I'm doing an episode of Purple Roads. So I get that certain choices are intentional. But there's this whole academic language to talk about film that all through my 4 years there, I'm just thinking is complete, how do I say this without cursing? Complete junk. Complete cow patty.
Wow.
And
Cow patty. Anyway, continue on what you're saying, Matt.
I asked him, I said, what do you make of film theory? And the director, whose films I sat in class and analyzed, was like, yeah, I'm just a creator. I just make what I like, and sure, there's symbolism and there's themes, but my gosh, some of these people need to calm down. So I don't approach anybody without knowing what I want to talk about. It's just why sometimes you'll send me people that I won't know. Caroline Ellis, let's use Caroline Ellis. You'll give me, I'm like, well, what are you talking about? And I get this. This is what I get. And I said, what do you want to talk to Caroline Ellis about? He starts singing this. I'm like, Carrie, that tells me nothing. What? I love it. You do that so good, but I'm like, I just didn't have that connection. So you communicate what you want, and then my job is to communicate it to them. So I can't say that my major wasn't invaluable. It taught me how to communicate about media. But I'm just thinking, these academics who literally make their careers out of this, the directors would look at you and be like, you have nothing better to do? And that's why I wanted to talk to Oliver Stone. Other purposes, reason I reached out was, it was the release of his memoir. So I got in on the PR schedule, thank goodness, and he liked it. He tweeted about it, said words that brought me to tears, something about so nice to have somebody that enjoys conversation, which is the whole goal. I mean, we live in the world of TikTok, which is an important promotional tool. We live in the world of late night television that is made now not for nightly bedroom consuming of it just as you're nodding off, but for viral consumption the next day. So you have Jimmy Fallon with his slow jams, James Corden with the carpool karaoke. You have Stephen Colbert doing gotcha segments with politicians. Nobody is having conversation.
Wow.
And I don't want to sound high and mighty because I'm not. I'm just a simple person who just, I've been asking way too many questions since I was in kindergarten, okay?
Yeah.
I have no ego about it. But I know what I want. And Larry King, keep coming back to him, was like the last great communicator who cared about conversation. Even the people he mentored, Dave Rubin, and I love Dave Rubin, he's more political in what he does than conversational. So I want to do that. I know there's a ton of podcasts out there that do that, but I look at podcasting, you mentioned there's a lot of podcasts out there. I look at podcasting as a delivery mechanism. When I'm pitching for you, now, this was true throughout most of the pandemic. Now you've put this back online as a podcast. I never called it a podcast in the pitch. I called it a YouTube talk show. A podcast is akin to like what Netflix is for their bingeable series. It is a content delivery mechanism. You can choose to do a formal radio talk show in a podcast format. On the podcast form, the format of your show is a radio show. And you see this with NPR, you see this with all these other talk stations, that they have their shows, and then once the copyright material is edited out, they put up a clean version as a podcast. It isn't a podcast in the sort of highfalutin sense of like, what podcast do you listen to? I don't know podcasts. It's put up there in that form. Right. And I love that. So anyway, getting on my academic thinking about podcasts, but
still, you love it.
I love it. People are going to learn from this episode that you just don't stop. We're talking about, we're talking about Talk for Two, but you're on two other podcasts as well. Music Universe that you work on.
Yes.
And, you have such a passion. I think it's so interesting for musicians and singers, and so some of the people that you've had on that show, I know have inspired you.
Yes. So I could trace what I do back to Garth Brooks, watching him as a kid. Got to interview him, not for Music Universe, but actually because of the Music Universe, I knew the process to do the press conference interview. Music Universe podcast, we sit down and we talk to people. We had Tracy Lawrence, Tracy Bird, Pam Tillis, Christian Bush of Sugarland, musicuniverse.com, or you can go to TMU Pod, find out links to all the podcasts. Ray Stevens, actually, we just did. Ray Stevens, Everything is Beautiful, Shriners Convention, The Streak, kind of Weird Al before Weird Al was weird. I just love talking to these people because that was the only form of entertainment I really saw growing up. I saw that and TV and theater. My little child brain didn't wrap my head around, oh, you could be a comic, you could be a magician, a ventriloquist. The latter two I ended up doing, and that's how the podcast got its start. But, so I thought, oh, I should be a singer. Well,
wow.
But,
Me either.
but these people are why I fell in love with the idea of entertainment. And then I became a cable news producer after Talk for Two. The booking for Talk for Two got the attention of some people. And then I fell in love with that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I grew up, people on both sides of the aisle, please don't judge me for this. I grew up watching O'Reilly because that's what was on in the house, okay? And I'm like, and it brought back memories of me thinking, oh, I'd love to do this. But I always thought you had to be established in some other way and couldn't build your name strictly through doing media. Because O'Reilly had been on Entertainment Tonight, he was a local reporter. I didn't understand anything about that career trajectory. And had I understood a little bit more about focusing in on that, and that this would be my passion, my major in college would have been different, but I'll tell you, I wouldn't change anything for the world.
Yeah.
On that point, we've also got the political ones that you've been doing. Okay. Where I want to go with that is, and even the booking part of that.
Sure.
What is that like going to? Because usually on those situations they've got a point to push or something. I mean, there's an agenda usually there.
You're wrong with it. And first of all, just to give the listeners a little bit of background, I won't go too long into this.
Yeah, no,
I took into my interview at a now notorious cable news network, and I won't go into which one. Took in a list of about 100 people that I booked, and the head booker came in and was like, "We're going to hire you, and the EPs are going to fight over you," and they did. All the executive producers for the shows came around and talked to me. I landed, because they needed someone immediately, I landed on the only show that was not in development. It was a show that was in production.
Wow.
So did that for about a year, left right before the election to move here to the District of Columbia. I love being in DC.
Okay.
My own apartment with my studio and everything. Was there for about a year, worked through most of the pandemic with them. But, you know, I started to get what they call red light fever. Because I would write questions, really good questions for my hosts. And they wouldn't ask them. Fine. They would go off in their direction. Their prerogative, they're the anchor, that's fine. So coming here to DC, I said, I want to do a show that gets to both sides equally. Because I think, especially with vaccines, and take your any pick of an issue that is political or would become political, the way the media portrays it is going to shadow out any fact on both sides. It just does. Because any media, any cable media especially, that tells you they don't have an agenda, well, they do. They have to appease advertisers. So Fox's advertisers want a conservative senior audience, MSNBC, CNN, a more mainstream liberal audience. They have to appeal to that audience.
Wow.
So me doing this show on the web, I can just say, listen, here's what I agree with, here's what I don't, but you, sir, you expert, tell me what's the truth. And the show's called Fair Questions. It does air on a conservative website called BizPack Review, but I try to moderate as best I can. I make no secret how I feel about certain things, but I do that after. I do that after the fact, after I've talked to whoever. We did a Facebook Live, it's been viewed tens of thousands of times, with Sheriff Clark. I booked a Democratic strategist named Crystal Knight, and I booked a lawyer named Randy Zellin. And I just sat there in this very studio, looking at that camera over there, and I just asked the questions. And I said, Sheriff Clark, does the police need to be reformed? And I said, Crystal, do you think that the protests in the summer of last year shot your cause in the foot because of the aggression? And we balanced it. And that's what I want to do in the political sphere. I do work, my day job is as a cable news booker for an international network, and that is booking American experts to talk about foreign policy topics. I stay away from that on my show for a number of reasons, not the least of which is I'm the last guy anybody would want to hear about, what's going on in Iran. But that's what it is. I do 2 video series, one for Music Universe, one for BizPack, the Fair Questions. I do a third, which is Your Life on the Purple Roads.
Which I won't be able to react to. That's a no-no. Continue on.
2, I do the Music Universe podcast. And yeah, my days are crazy. Because I edit Fair Questions as well. So I give them a fully delivered thing with B-roll and chyrons on the bottom as well. So, but you know the grind of editing.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm glad you mentioned that because I get a lot of calls and fans want to talk and this and that. And a lot of times it's just because I'm editing or I'm promoting something. It's why you're so busy.
Right.
So we got to talk a little bit about Purple Roads. What's it like booking,
Oh, complete torture. No, I'm kidding.
No.
Man.
Oh, I know. I send you these long lists and I think you shake your head. But
I love it.
But when you're getting to talk to these people that, you grew up watching, some of these you brought John Tartaglia to us, the Imagination Movers, which made my whole family so excited.
I love that.
Yeah.
And we've got some other ones you've got on, but you brought on so many. You brought me Santa Claus.
The first one I remember is Michael Cariglio Pappy from Pappyland. And I called you and I said, Carrie, I said, you ever have a show called Pappyland? You're like, no. I'm like, well, you're about to. Because what had happened was he had a viral TikTok in the early days of because this was pre-pandemic.
Wow.
of TikTok being famous. Of it was him doing a trend, and it went viral. And I'm like, oh my god, the guy's still alive. Okay.
Right.
My first instinct was for me to talk to him. I'm like, no, this is perfect for Purple Roads. So we got in touch. We did it. He did it from his studio, and we were blown away.
Wow.
I'm like, this is what it is. Now, Pappyland, 90s series, kind of like what I would watch as a little bitty elementary school kid, eating breakfast, putting on the Learning Channel, TLC. Before TLC became all toddlers, tiaras, and Honey Boo Boo, they actually had educational content for kids in the early morning. So that was interesting because we got to him. He really opened up to you. It's fun. It's fun because you do it to me. Like we were talking about Caroline Ellis. I don't know. I know Sid and Marty Krofft, of course, having been in magic and puppetry myself. But Buggaloos, no, I'm more familiar with H.R. Puffin stuff and some of that. Bugaloo, I didn't know what that was. So it's really interesting because I get to live a little bit vicariously through you. Another one, Emma Wiggle, Emma Watkins. That was not my generation of Wiggles, though I did go see them after I interviewed Anthony for my show. So it was really cool to get one of the new folks on with you. And then she just sat, not in her garb, just on the floor of the studio, where apparently you had said they'd been holed up living during the pandemic.
They were there a lot.
Like they were almost quarantining together in their space. So it's just been, I can't tell you, it's so hard to talk about because I can't tell you why it works.
Still.
I can tell you what I do. I could give a class on this is what I do and this is how I handle myself. Why it works, why I love it, I just love to talk to people. Growing up,
come on, what
it's
you say?
just one of those things that makes to talk to people. Growing up, it's just one of those things that makes sense. Growing up, I was the kid that asked too many off-topic questions. So if we were talking about math, I'd have a question about reading, or a question about why the sky was blue, or a question about who was mowing the grass. I was limited to 3 questions per subject in elementary, middle, and high school. Actually no, not high school. By high school they were like, we're gonna treat you like an adult. That was the most patronizing thing, and it stayed with me. It has stayed. Now I don't want to sound bitter because I'm not. I understand I was left-handed, but they would literally hand me popsicle sticks, and I'd have to hand them back if I was asking too many off-topic questions. And so it is so funny to me now to have a room where once, twice a week I come in here, and whether it's a politician, whether it's a celebrity, whether it's you with Life on the Purple Roads, I'm asking questions. And that's why when we do Life on the Purple, and you have a guest for me, I tell you, don't tell me. Because I want to see what I can do with the question. Don't tell me who it is. Tell me we have a guest, so I know somebody's coming in. But don't tell me who it's going to be, because I want to see what I can do thrown into the fire. I've done treating my curiosity as a weakness, and now it is a skill to build. So that's what has been the evolution of all of this.
Yeah.
Well, everyone needs to understand. When I throw these names out, these things, he just goes. He just goes. Caroline Ellis was in Spain. Like you got her from Spain and set the whole thing up. Obviously, Emma Watkins was in Australia. You found me also from High Five, Kelly Crawford, which going over there, that whole thing, and putting all that together. And one that shocked the fans that you pulled off was Joshua De La Cruz.
Yeah. And I want to thank DJ Bob for that because I saw.
Well, if you watch this, DJ Bob, this is for you, buddy. Continue on.
Through him, that Josh was doing interviews, so we reached out, and he was like, "Yeah, how'd you get to him?" I'm like, "Email this person." Oh, I went through Nickelodeon. I'm like, "Oh wow, look at you."
Wow.
Or maybe it was the other way around. Maybe he called it. No, it was him. He called in a favor. We went through Nickelodeon. So actually, he wasn't doing interviews. It was just a favor to his friend. And and we still got him. So that's the booking world. The booking world is completely relationships. Completely relationships. Now, let me ask you this, Karen.
Okay.
And I know I've told you this before, so it's more testing memory than anything. What's the average number of podcasts somebody does before they give up?
Oh, I don't know that.
3.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Because the barrier to entry is so low, they do 3 just to throw it up there and then they get bored. The real key, which you have proven over and over again, is just consistency. Is just keep doing it. And yes, we have weeks where nobody's available, or we have weeks where we don't air. That happens. I shut down in February to wait for a new computer, and because of the political show, I talk for 2, and because of the political show, Music Universe, and other work, I haven't started it back up again. I have interviews in the can, don't worry, they're coming. I just haven't been able to figure out how to put it back in the workflow since I got new equipment.
Sure.
And but I'm very fulfilled. It's consistency. It is consistency is the key to being successful and figuring out what you want. Do you want the show to be your living, or do you want to use the show as a springboard to another career? For me, I started early enough that I knew that if I could book enough cool people, that could get the attention of the people who hire bookers in news or in other kinds of talk television. And
Wow.
It did.
Forgive me if that sounds egotistical, but it's why I can live in DC. So it's about sticking to it if you choose to do it, and just letting it take you where it's going to take you.
So let's finish up here with what's next. And what else can you jam into your schedule?
Nap time. No, like I said, I want to get back into production with Talk for 2. It's like every Sunday I should do Talk for 2 this week, and then everything else gets out of the way. What's next is one of the other things I do, and this is more political, is an events business. A friend of mine, we've started doing events for political candidates, and not doing the fundraising. Certainly I wouldn't talk to you about it if it were fundraising, because that's private. But throwing the events so that the campaigns can be at peace and just bring in their donors, and we've put on something nice for that. That's what's next, and I kind of stumbled into it. Just needs to be formalized. I don't know, it's not going to be something we do a whole heck of a lot, because politics is in season and out of season, but just being here in DC, the world opened up to me very quickly when I moved here. And I was cautioned by a former boss that my media career would be in New York, not in DC, and I moved here and all of the opportunity kind of opened up. So it's been a crazy, crazy ride.
Wow.
Well, I can't wait to see where it continues to go. I can't thank you enough for being on here. Also, what's next for you is a long list that I'm getting ready to send you.
Please,
Please do.
Every Sunday night, I just write the emails. Monday mornings at 11 a.m., I hit the send button. We're good to go.
And for Rose fans, he's got 2 great guests that he just booked that are coming up. So we're excited about that as well.
Yeah, which I'll have to react to, talk to 2 some other time. Continue on.
It's been a pleasure working together and seeing what you do, and I just can't wait to see where you continue to go.
Oh, the pleasure is mine, Kerry.
All the things you're going to do.
Same here. It's only upward with Purple Roads. Thank you very much for having me. It's been fun.
Absolutely. Well,
hey guys, thank you. Pete Barney behind me over here, everybody. I'm a full convert, trust me.
Well, thank you so much for watching Purple Roads. Remember to keep your eyes, ears, and your heart open, and you'll find your Purple Road. See you next week.
That was Purple Roads, episode number 69. Go Power Rangers! And DJ Bob Show and Matt Bailey from Talk for 2. What do I think about this episode? It was amazing. So far, this episode went to be a success. Anyways, guys, double episode for LJPCBM React, episode number 632. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned for the next one. which is going to be LJPCBM React, episode number 633. Remix, Plum Television, replay on, for Uno, full colors on Uno game. Now, Remix, if you watch this now, this is for you. He previously streamed this on Twitch with me as a guest, so be on the lookout for me to react to this on my YouTube channel, so be on the lookout for that. Till next time, so Jarvis, goodbye, peace out, baby. Get more to react to guys very soon. Till then, Jarvis out. See ya.
Given unto me this life I'll never take for granted, and given all the time I failed to really understand it, I never sought to meet the maker of reality, the one who gave the life that which is always happening, but I tried all the time. I ask, why me? Why was I the one to see things as I do under the moonlight and the sun? Perception is the question, and the giver